We're at my house, and today is the day that I reveal the studio to Alex and to all of you. If you've been listening to the podcast, obviously, I have been talking about this for a while, like 3-4 months, probably more. But it really stepped into high gear, and maybe we'll talk about that today as someone from Garfield, Arkansas calls me. We'll talk about that a little bit in the podcast today so that I can communicate why things kind of went up a level toward the end here. But let's go check it out. First time recording an episode away from, so I'll do all these tungsten lights first, because I've got all the vibe lights. Oh no, you're good. You can just roll while I flip on the old tungsten lights, and then we'll do it in stages here. I've got all these.
Shoot those CRT on too.
Yeah, all these tungsten lights.
Yeah, brother, you gotta get some air purifiers. This is gonna be hell to dust.
Exactly. We can go there. We can do the shop lights. Kick all that on. This one is a little bitch and doesn't turn on all the time. But yeah, buddy, here it is. Welcome.
Oh.
Welcome to the craziness that has been my project for the last
Walk us through it, brother.
3-4 months.
Crazy. I feel like I can't quite capture it.
Yeah, it's a lot. And with a tight little
Where'd you get this guy?
camcorder. So I picked this up ahead of an estate sale. My buddy Barney, Barney and Brenda do estate sales here in Council Bluffs, and they let me go into one early. And they had this, and I immediately saw it as the thing that would hold all the stuff that I sell on eBay. So I picked that up for, I think, $75 and dragged it on home. And I built this workbench out of wood to match the desk that's in the main part of the studio. Of course, for more than 6 months, I've been chipping away at buying VHS movies to kind of have a vibe in the studio with all the VHS titles. Yeah, there's a lot, and then they're all up here too. I think initially what I was going to do was mostly sort of like reorganize this studio to go from a place that stored all of my gear and all the gear that I would have ready to go when a client gave me permission to work, right? Whether it was a video shoot or I would go work on a crew with other people, I had to have all my gear kind of packed up in Pelican cases to be ready to go. And that part of my life has really came to an end. And as I...
Does that work?
No, I don't have a landline, unfortunately. I actually had to take it apart to take the cord out of it.
You know you can get a Bluetooth adapter on Etsy for like $100
That'd be wild.
and just install it yourself.
Yeah, that might be the move. Will it ring as well?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
With the same ringer.
Wow.
Yeah.
It'll actually use the mechanical. That's cool. Okay.
Idea.
Might be the way to do it.
We'll be like
Yeah.
like Kennedy, and
Right.
we'll have the one phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody calls each other.
If I ever find a red one, I'm going to get a red one. But
Honestly, that might work because we never have good signal when we're chatting.
yeah, I know.
So
But in transitioning away from life of video production and all that, I wanted to try to turn this space into a place that I could both enjoy personally with music or movies or whatever, but then also to do the work that I do. So live streaming, all the photo editing, VCR digitization, VHS digitization, and all that at that spot. A workbench so I can work on the audio stuff I pick up, typewriters, all of that stuff. And yeah, just basically make this space the really cool, awesome version of my bedroom when I was 14 years old. And that's essentially what it is, just missing a bed.
can you demonstrate some of these things?
Yeah.
All this works, right?
Yeah, all this works. This isn't plugged in. This is just kind of a standby thing, the 5-disc Sony CD player. But I have this old like 90s Sharp singles disc player. But yeah, the VCR works.
It feels so good just to have that.
Yep.
I'm so used to that now.
and it works with DVD or VHS. So
You're gonna get the streaming hooked up?
eventually, yeah, I have a 1080 Apple TV that I would like to use for that. Do I have a movie in here? I think I do. I think I have Lost in Translation in here. Yeah. That, of course, got the receiver, cassette player, CD player, the record player, all the typewriters. And we can spin up some Stan Getz here, some jazz.
So you give us the tour of what you want to show.
Oh, geez.
Like,
Taking
what
over
are you
here.
most proud of? Yeah.
Well, the big thing I would say is the big shelving unit. This was
It looks a lot better than I feel like both of us thought it would.
yeah, the initial photos, especially when I didn't have the top on, and then these shelves within the shelves certainly looked a lot different. But I saw a Peter McKinnon video and then a walkie-talkie with Pauly B, and the guy in the walkie-talkie with Pauly B, who was in LA, just had like these Home Depot boards and some cinder blocks, and that was one of the things that ignited me to kind of go, okay, so that's an option for doing something that's really inexpensive, and I can do it myself. Because if I like bought something like this that was a finished walnut, mid-century modern, big, huge piece, I mean, you're talking thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Even if I found something at an estate sale, you'd be talking $800+. And I think I built all of this for a couple $100.
So this is nobody wants to add this. How much do you think you're in on the total redesign?
So the fun part about this is I was really focused on embracing this idea of sort of like offsetting the cost of stuff by picking things up at estate sales and then selling them for money. So if I went to an estate sale and saw a TV or a piece of furniture, I would challenge myself to pick up some stereo equipment or records or whatever it was that I could then, the cameras that I could sell to try to keep it cost neutral. If I had to guess, I would probably, like the number that pops into my head when I think about what all this probably cost out of pocket was maybe $1,000.
Pretty good.
Now, it obviously, if you just like looked at all the receipts of the stuff I bought, it's probably quite a bit more than that. But again, I was applying money that I made from stuff that I sold toward the purchase of all this stuff.
And like I can confirm, like you really didn't have very many typewriters or cameras
No.
or anything like go back 3 years.
Nothing, yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly no typewriters and not all these cameras. And I've been going, the typewriters, I don't make any money selling typewriters, but cameras are the big thing, and records. You can really make some decent money. And I say records, I also mean CDs and cassette tapes. Like these cassette tapes, I still have yet to sell them, but this is a stack of like 80s and 90s heavy metal stuff. And I will probably be able to sell those to homers. I bought them for $1 a piece, and they'll probably spend $5, if not more, on each of those cassettes. And there's, I don't know, 60 or 70 of them. So that'll help offset cost as well.
This is crazy. That chair looks sweet, by the way. Tell them
Yeah,
about
so
this. Tell them about that. Yeah.
well, real quick on the chair. So I picked this up. This was at an estate sale here in Council Bluffs. And this is a Swedish-made mid-century lounger with, we think, a faux leather, but like a really, really good faux leather. And these armrests were all tore up. The guy that was selling it, hey, there it goes. The guy that was selling it had it listed at first for like $400-something. Then he dropped it down to $275. Then he dropped it down to like under $100. And then finally he dropped it to $50. So I bought this for $50. The buttons needed to be fixed and these armrests needed to be reupholstered. But I got that done for about $100, which was a little pricey. But all in for the whole chair, $150. And I think it turned out great. I like that it's a little distressed because I like my stuff to have a little bit of a lived-in look to it. And this doesn't match perfectly, but to me, for what matters to
it's
me,
over in that corner too, you can't.
yeah, it's going to be dimly lit in here for the most part. But a lot of this stuff, like these metal drawers, so much of this stuff came from estate
This is probably
sales.
the most expensive thing you have.
Yeah, so, and we might touch on this in the podcast. Not that the episode has to be all about, my whole story about the studio, but this was not something that I planned on buying. But my grandma passed away a month or so ago, and my mom decided to gift her kids some of the inheritance that she got from her mom. And while I could apply that money, which is not anything like a crazy amount of money, we're not talking like 50 grand or 100 grand or anything like that. But while I could apply that money more responsibly towards some debt or this or that, I wanted to make sure I put a portion of that money towards celebrating the memory of my grandparents, especially my grandpa, because he had his own studio that he custom built for video and photo and all the stuff that I'm doing. Literally, my grandpa would do in a bedroom that he did custom cabinetry, all these switches and buttons and all this crazy stuff. So I felt like it was almost like my duty to use some of that money towards this and up the ante a little bit with how much I was doing to honor that connection to my grandparents. And the typewriters certainly do that. My grandma's the last person I typed a letter to, and I'll certainly be typing more letters as well. I just picked this up yesterday.
Yeah, this is sweet.
Yeah.
What do you think about the girls aren't really there yet, but they will be at an age where this is going to be like, it's either going to be like, oh, that's corny, that's dad's,
Yeah.
or like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Right. They hang out down here already with me and
Yeah.
listen to music and stuff, and they'll dance, or like I'll play music or
Yeah.
whatever. So I think it's already having a little bit of an impression on them. But anytime your parent is doing something, whether it's their career or something like this, there's something about it being your parent where you just don't sort of see it for what it is. And I think I was that way with my grandpa in his studio.
I think all of us were.
Yeah, when I was younger, I didn't revere it. And now, especially toward the end of his life and as our interests overlapped, I revered it way more. But this is very similar to how my room was when I was a kid. My room was packed to the gills with stuff, shelves and everything on display, sentimental stuff I loved. And this is just what makes me feel at home. It's two different people, and seeing how who they are is externalized in the spaces that they put together.
Well,
And on this wall is where a poster will go. It's a jazz poster, John Coltrane, that I'm still waiting to have come in, but that'll go up there. And some of this stuff too is stuff I have had for a long time.
just waiting for a place.
Yeah, that Weezer poster I've had since I was a college freshman. That Ska Against Racism poster, I went to that concert when I was at Iowa State University in 1997. So stuff like that has been around and kept, even though I did get rid of tons of stuff. Yeah, there it is. Everything's been on hold.
Yeah.
And as I'm coming out of this
I'm
now,
excited to get Matt's brain back.
Yep. I'm excited to get it back too, because it has been completely hijacked by this. And the few things we talked about, I got to get my accounting caught up. There's a few things I need to just get squared away that has been backburnered. But once that gets clear, I'm back into a rhythm with my content creation and work. Then I'll start to be able to have that time for my brain coming back online.
Well, should we do it?
Yeah, I think so. Let's set up.
It had been a golden afternoon, and I remember having the familiar conviction that life was beginning over again with the summer and summer.